Welcome back. We had a few of our members leave because of prior obligations, but we are introducing Shanice into our panel, and we are going to start with prevention and awareness. Who would like to pick up?
So I think the main thing that really needs to be instilled for both prevention and awareness is education. As far as awareness, people, they don't know what genocide is. They've never heard the word. Even if they have, they really don't know exactly what it means. They just think a bunch of people being killed. They don't understand the intent, the implications, not just for those people, but for people all over the world. And as far as prevention, education is also very key because you can't prevent something if you don't know what it is. They always say, you know, history repeats itself, so learn your history. Most people have no idea of any genocides that have happened. I knew of the Holocaust.
Well, besides the Holocaust and Darfur.
Yeah, I knew of the Holocaust before coming to this class. The Armenian genocide, which is a really big one. It's the first big one of the 20th century. It was during
World War I.
Yeah, early 1900s, and I never even heard of it until I took this class, and we learned all about the Armenians that were killed. And not only did I learn about this genocide, I learned that they looked like anybody would look in this room. Sorry, except for you. They were, you know, they weren't from Africa or from third world countries. They were European. They were white. They were Christian.
They were the image of you, so it made you realize that it could be you.
Yeah, that's one thing. And people, like, if they're just taught about the Holocaust, people are like, oh, that happened in Germany so long ago, and it's all Jewish people. People need to realize you don't just have to be Jewish and born 50 years ago for this stuff.
Because I know a lot of us were actually in the class, that studied a lot of these genocide cases, and we've seen all different types of groups that have been targeted. Let's list a few. We've had the Armenians.
Here, I have a list right here.
You actually have a list?
Well, I have a list of some. We've got...
well, we know because we were in the class.
Armenian genocide. We have the
Bangladesh.
Bosnian genocide. Bangladesh, Cambodia.
Yeah, and what else?
Darfur, Rwanda.
Yeah, we've had African tribes. We've had Cambodians.
The Faroese, I'm not sure which country that was in.
Pakistan.
The Cambodian genocide, it wasn't even just like a specific type of race. It was Cambodians who were being killed.
Yeah.
Like because they were seen as traitors, so therefore they were killed.
Absolutely. And what we also need to understand that it's not groups that are targeted is not just about race.
Yeah, it can be
the
religion,
reason why the
politics.
definition states race in it. And what it states, nationalism, and what was the definition? It states
Race, nation, ethnicity, and religion.
Okay, and the reason why that's the only things that they've acquired in the definition is because those are the types of groups that have happened. Gay people can be a target group for genocide. What else? Females, and what else? I mean, any
political groups
Any
political
can
groups
be targets as well.
But they won't list a political group.
They won't list that because it mucks up the law, basically.
But we need to understand that any group can be targeted, and it's not just the ones that we've seen happen in the past. What was I going to say?
I don't know, but one of the main problems with people...
She wants to say
And since we're talking about education, if you have... some of the people in our panel today have actually taken a whole class, so they've been in this class for the last 3 months on genocide. For those of us who didn't take that class, trying to prepare for this conversation was extremely difficult. I mean, you can't, or you can just type genocide into a search engine and have it go, but it doesn't come up with anything productive. And the Wikipedia article on genocide is vastly inadequate. And like I've been able to talk from the perspective of the Holocaust and from the Armenians in Turkey because I'm a history major, and so I've researched these things. But anything past that, you can't find information on it. No one wants to classify it as genocide because that would be horrible. I mean, that's the things humans can do to each other. But the truth is that part of our education needs to be that we do this crap to each other every day,
Yeah.
and something needs to be done about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say that I honestly, because the way that you guys were talking earlier about it takes such preparation and such longevity for someone to actually start a genocide, that I don't think something such as educating someone that this is going on is going to necessarily prevent it or stop it. I think it's solely in the place that it started. Like, you can't really take outside sources and try to prevent this because it's in these people's minds. They feel as though they need to do this. And so whatever is causing them to think like that is the source that we need to go to. But educating people from the outside is really not going to help the people who are getting killed and who are killing.
I feel like, okay, the education, it's not going to stop the people from making these plans or starting a genocide. What education is going to do is strengthen the international community of actually wanting to do something
It's
about
going to
it.
strengthen
It's
the
gonna-
youth.
It's too late once they're
The
killing
youth.
people.
But that's the thing, you can't just say it's too late, so let's never do it. You need to start at some point, educate people, and at some point it's going to make a difference.
I never said let's never do it. I'm just saying that you're saying that we should educate these people so that we can help them, but the only way we can help them is if it already is taking place. Like, what I'm trying to figure out, what can we do before
Education
it
is not going to do
starts.
anything for Darfur. Could educate everybody in every country right now, and it probably would not do anything for Darfur. But you don't know. It could really do something 20 years from now when a genocide, when the
Yes.
beginning signs are starting,
Yes.
and you get the first news from it in your country, and then all these citizens are like, oh, I know what that is. I'm going to lobby my government right now. I'm going to say that I have a problem with this. I'm going to say that our government needs to say something to that government that this is a problem, and get, the international community needs to have responsibility for each other.
And on top of the whole education thing, what we discussed earlier is how mass media plays a huge role in people's beliefs and people's ignorance for what they think is going on, which is really not what's going on. There's something a lot more and a lot more tragic going on that people don't know about because people are brain dead and listen to our newscast and listen to the news and believe every word. And a part of what education can do is teach us how to interpret the language that's used in our media and be able to see that is a symbol, that is a sign, that is what they're saying is not what they're really saying, it's actually genocide. Because people use that term genocide so conservatively, they don't like to use it, and most of the time, when have we ever heard them use it? The only time we've ever heard them use it was when George Bush actually called Darfur a genocide.
Yeah.
That was the only time we ever heard somebody come forward and say this is a genocide.
And you know
So
what?
when we hear people say there's a civil war going on, we really need to investigate on that. Because
We hear the
that's
words ethnic cleansing.
ethnic cleansing.
That's a made-up word
civil
after
war.
genocide, because genocide.
We need
That's
to
something.
make sure that we are interpreting and really analyzing and critically thinking about the words that are being used in the news.
Distinguish
Wait,
for
hold on.
yourselves what is happening.
Hold
And
on,
if
we have a point over here.
If you look through the history, because the history of genocide, because we took the class and everything, you can see how much we've improved since the first genocide that we looked at, and it's been taking how long? Like almost
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years. To finally claim something a genocide, it's going to
Yeah.
take time for us to be able to prevent it, to stop it.
I was going to say that a good way to look at those signs of genocide is if you're looking at international headlines, not just trusting American media. If you look at the headlines in that country, there'll be the headline will have certain tag phrases in it, the ethnic cleansing, etc. And then if you look at the headlines from like a neighboring country or another country in that region, often the tagline will be completely different, and you have to decide for yourself which one is more accurate or if there needs to be a middle ground. And that's a really good way to check different sources of your media.
That's true.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are too damn lazy and don't want to do our homework and be adults.
Yeah, one
and
thing
that's
is-
why we don't get anything done.
as far as education, with the start of education, you're going to start to get people to actually care about this and want to do something
That's
about it.
true.
And like you're saying, you're not going to go research about some genocide just to get the information on it to know. You're going to have to care about it first. And people who don't know what this does there are a lot of people who say, oh, genocide is sad. I showed a friend of mine a few weeks ago a whole documentary that's called Worse Than War. about tons of different genocides. And after we watched it, I saw on MySpace a few days later her saying like,